All right, here we go. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Hope everybody is having a fantastic Thursday. Weekend is just around the corner. And, of course, Bears-Ravens Sunday at noon Central, 1 o'clock if you're on the East Coast or heading to Baltimore for the game. We got a lot to discuss today. Big injury updates for Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, and, of course, the Bears. A few new players added to the injury report today, so a lot of names on there. We'll dive into all of that, but let us know where you guys are tuning in from as we are live here once again. Cullen, couple days, then we'll be back at it. All eyes on Lamar Jackson. I tend to think he's going to play, but I don't think he's going to be 100% if he does play, so it's going to be interesting to see how they look offensively if he's not running around much.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, right? Lamar Jackson, in terms of quarterbacks, is top four, at times, maybe arguably even the best quarterback on any given Sunday in the NFL. And look, I mean, he's a huge upgrade, no matter if he's 75, if he's 90%, 100%, compared to the likes of Cooper Rush and Tyler Huntley. We've kind of talked about it through videos throughout the week. It seems like he's going to be, questionable leading all the way up to game time. I would probably lean to the fact that he's going to play.
Yeah, he was limited again today. Again, we'll dive more into it once we get into our first segment, but I think he'll be limited again tomorrow. They'll list him as questionable, and if there's no setback between Friday and kickoff on Sunday, he'll, of course, work out before the game. He'll give it a go. Now, if they were 5-1, he probably wouldn't play. But at 1-5, I mean, in a lot of ways, their season's on the line. They're pretty lucky to still be in the mix in the AFC North, but Pittsburgh opened that door by losing to Cincinnati last Thursday. The Ravens still have 2 head-to-head matchups with Pittsburgh this season, so they can kind of hang around if they can win Sunday, because then they play the Dolphins on Thursday. You would think they'd be favored in that game, obviously, as well. So, we've talked about it. This is an empty-the-tank game for Baltimore, and without Lamar Jackson, there's only so much they can do. So, unless Cooper Rush or Tyler Huntley play significantly better than they have up to this point. So, I think unless there's some kind of setback, he's at least going to give it a go. I don't think he'll be 100%. I think the Ravens were a little caught off guard when they got back into the building Monday and he couldn't practice, but he's been limited the last 2 days. My guess is he'll be out there. And I said it yesterday. I want him to play, and I want to see how the Bears stack up against a team that's desperate, against a team that's getting reinforcements back with Roquan Smith, Ronnie Stanley, Kyle Hamilton fully back in the fold as well, and Lamar Jackson, even if he's not quite 100%, Colin, because this is a Super Bowl contender for several years now. A trendy pick for a lot of people this year, and me too. I picked him as well, and this is it for them. Like, they lose this game, I mean, until you're mathematically eliminated, you're not out of it, I guess. But 1-6, I think they have to win this game. So I expect, coming off a bye week, getting key guys back, I expect a pretty big effort. And, I keep hearing these shows talking about how bad Baltimore's defense is. And listen, so far this year, they have been poor. They did this last year, though, Colin. The first half of the season, they were bad, and then the last, 9 games of the year, they were literally the best defense in football statistically. So to act like they're incapable of playing on that side, they've got dudes. I get it, Matabike's not in the fold, so that is a big difference. But I just don't – I have way too much respect for the Ravens coaching staff, the players they have, to just assume that this Bears offense is going to have a field day on Sunday, when Baltimore is a pretty proven commodity over several years now, even if this year hasn't gone to plan so far.
Yeah, I mean, sleeping giant, there's a lot of different terms that you could use to describe this potential Ravens team that the Bears could be going up against this Sunday. And look, I mean, they've played in a lot of big games throughout the last, handful of years since Lamar's been a starter, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. You mentioned Kyle Hamilton, obviously Roquan Smith. He's a really big factor that the Bears fans are familiar with. This is going to be, to kind of piggyback off of your point earlier, a good litmus test for the Bears. And look, I mean, we've seen them go on this 4-game win streak. They're clearly on a roll, and, they haven't played their perfect brand of football yet, but they've, won games. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, winning is everything in the NFL. And look, this is going to be the biggest test because Baltimore's got every reason to your point, empty the tank. go all out, try to save what's left of the season and really try to, get their own run started. And if you're Chicago, while this isn't an NFC game per se, this is a good chance that, hey, listen, Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, and the whole crew, they want to kind of, show that the rest of the NFL, hey, listen, we're a legit team here. We have the longest win streak in the NFC, if I'm not mistaken.
This isn't some fluke gimmicky run.
Exactly.
Like, I think if you go into Baltimore, I don't care what their record is, and you win on Sunday, I'm sure there will be pundits be like, well, it's the 1-6 Ravens. That's fine. That talk will be out there. But I do think it's a chance to garner some more respect, even if not by the pundits, maybe like by Vegas at least, because Vegas has them as a major underdog in this spot. So it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully the Bears play with the chip on their shoulder and chase that 5th straight win. I expect a close game. My initial pick was Baltimore tight for all the reasons I've said. I just think the pedigree they have, everything on the line in this game. That's as weird as it is, there's more on the line for Baltimore in this game than there is Chicago. But what an opportunity for the Bears to get a 5th straight win. So got a few comments here, people making their picks. Got Bryce, Kevin, Don Burr, Ryle, and people up in the chat. Let's see. Darren says Chicago. Fake Don Burr confirmed. Let's see. Variety Gaming going with the Bears. F Detroit from Bear With Me Edits. Trying to rile Don up. Everything in Detroit smells like. Is that camel poop? Is that what I'm looking at there?
That's something.
I didn't even know we had a camel emoji. That's good stuff. All right, we got a lot to get to, so we'll go ahead and get this thing rolling. Hit that like button. Got almost over 400 people watching live. Let's get some more Bears fans in here. You hit the like button, helps us out in the algorithm, and shows this to more Bears fans. So if you want to help us out, we'd greatly appreciate it. All you got to do is just tickle that like button. We would greatly appreciate it. All right, because we got a lot coming up. A lot of news to get into, especially on the injury front for the Bears and the Ravens today. All eyes continue to be on Lamar Jackson. A couple new players on the Bears injury report that we got to discuss. We will take your questions, #Bears or Super Chat, to get your questions on the show. If you Super Chat, you can jump to the top of the line, just like our guy DePolish saying beat the Ravens. We'll hit that after this first segment. We talked about this a few weeks ago. We'll do the segment today. We're going to tier out some potential trade targets that the Bears could be interested in into 3 categories: blockbuster trade targets, significant trade targets, minor trade targets. We will kind of explain that when we get to that segment, but we're going to do that as well. And then I take a little bit of a dive into Dennis Allen and what he's doing with this defense. I think it's really impressive what he's been able to do. And even though some of the takeaway stuff, probably this level of volume probably won't continue at this rate, but regardless, I think he's doing a hell of a job. So we'll take a look at the defense later in this live show as well. But all that and more is coming up. #Bears Super Chat to get your questions in for our next segment. Don't forget to like the video. Let's go. Coming up here on Chicago Bears Now, what is Lamar Jackson's injury status? We break down the latest here on Bears Now. Also, the Bears injury report, some good, some not so good. It's getting crowded. We're going to talk about that. Plus, it's Coordinator Thursday. We heard from Dennis Allen, Declan Doyle, and Richard Hightower out at Hallis Hall. I take one thing that each of them spoke on and react to that later on in the show. My name is Harrison Graham. Our Week 8 subscriber battle continues with the Ravens rundown. And shout out to Bears fans. Shout out to the Bears Now gang here. We are embarrassing Joey Peterson and the Ravens rundown this week. Let's keep the train rolling. We've doubled them up, almost tripled them up in new subscribers this week. Let's do that. Subscribe, free Bears content. Let's take them down off the field so we can beat them on the field. We've won the sub battle during this 4-game winning streak. Just throwing that out there. Let's make it 5 in a row. Subscribe for free content. Okay, here is the latest on Lamar Jackson. He was a limited participant for a second straight day. He was out there in a limited capacity for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, one more practice tomorrow. Friday's typically a light practice, more of a walkthrough before they get ready for the game on Sunday. Here's where I think this is heading. I think he's going to be limited again tomorrow, and he's going to be listed as questionable for Sunday. and he will likely play. I think he'll go through his typical pregame routine on Sunday. They'll test the hamstring, and if there's no setback, he will play. What I also think is true is he will not be 100% in this game. I think that much is clear, which probably limits what Todd Monken's going to be able to do in the playbook, because a big part of this Ravens offense is the threat of Lamar's legs. Now, Lamar has turned into a terrific passer. He can be a drop back guy. No one's saying he can't, but his threat to run on those read options, scrambles, stuff like that, it makes this offense from good to great. So even if he plays, I still think the Bears have a decent opportunity to limit just how effective he can be, especially as a runner. You know, I said earlier this week, this is not a game where you're hunting sacks. Well, if he's not able to move as much, maybe you can get a little bit more aggressive with your run game integrity. I'm sure Dennis Allen and the boys will test that early. And, you know, if he's moving around well and making guys miss, then maybe you kind of adjust that and more stick with your lane integrity. But I just think that he's got to play. I mean, the Ravens are 1-5. Cooper Rush has been terrible. You've got Tyler Huntley back in the fold, who's had some success with the Ravens in the past, but that's a major drop-off. If Lamar Jackson is 75, 80%, that's a huge upgrade over the other options they have. They have below-average backup quarterbacks. So I just think this is an empty-the-tank game for Baltimore. I've said it all week. It's why I picked them in a slight win over the Bears in my initial prediction. I reserve the right to change my prediction before kickoff, of course, but I don't think Lamar is going to be 100%, and that also is a benefit of the Bears if that is the case. But I've also said I want Lamar out there. I want to see how the Bears stack up against a desperate Ravens team that's getting healthy with Lamar, Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, Ronnie Stanley. Let's see how the Bears stack up as a major underdog against a Super Bowl contender coming into this season on the road. I'm excited to see how it plays out, but I do think Lamar plays. Do you? Do you think Lamar Jackson will play on Sunday? Type Y for yes, or you can type in for no. I do think he plays. I also think he's not going to be 100% for this contest. Real quick on the injury report, not much to report for Baltimore. Their guys are healthy, the guys that aren't on IR. DeAndre Hopkins has an illness that something might be going around, as Marlon Humphrey was dealing with something yesterday. He was back at practice today, but everybody else there is full when it comes to their guys. Roquan full go, Pat Ricard full go as well. Kyle Hamilton, who was listed as limited yesterday, he was full. So I expect most of their key guys to be available. I mean, obviously, Matty BK's out for the year, but I expect Baltimore to play better on defense, and I expect Lamar to go out there and give it a go. Also, some quick Ravens news that maybe impacts Sunday. I'm not sure if he'll play. The Ravens are going to sign edge rusher Carl Lawson after working him out. He had 5 sacks last year with Dallas and was waiting for the right opportunity, and their edge position has not been very strong, and they're pretty thin there right now. And Mike Green, the rookie out of Marshall, has not been off to a good start. He's a vet. Like, could he play on short notice? Like, it wouldn't completely shock me. So we'll see. That could be something to keep an eye on for this game on Sunday. Okay, let's shift over to the Bears here, as 9 players for Chicago were either limited or did not practice today. We'll start with the guys who did not practice here. Braxton Jones with the knee. And a note there, he was limited yesterday, and that was coming after being benched and not playing the last 2 weeks. That tells me he likely got hurt in yesterday's practice because he didn't practice today. So he probably started yesterday's practice, full go, no restrictions, got banged up, didn't practice today. He's not a starter, but he's kind of a key backup, and there's been trade buzz around him. How does it impact that? We don't know the severity of the injury. We'll see if he practices tomorrow. Roschon Johnson, DNP again with the back. Same with Cole Kmet, Tyrique Stevenson, DNP. Obviously, both those players left last week's game with that back, with that shoulder injury. Joe Thuney with a rest day. They might start working some of those in for him as he is a little bit of an older player, but he's been awesome. I'm not worried about his situation, and if he skips a practice every once in a while. Tomorrow will be big for Stevenson and Kmet. If Roschon's out, he's out. You got Travis Homer, who can do the special team stuff. Not too worried about that. But Tyrique Stevenson, who has really elevated his game, has played like a CB1 without Jalen Johnson. And Cole Kmet, who you've got Colston Loveland, who could be poised for a breakout game here, especially if Kmet is out. But, you'd rather have Cole Kmet available, let's be honest. So that is the latest on that. I think tomorrow will dictate a lot on their situations heading into this game. Okay, more injury stuff to discuss in just a moment, but do got to tell you about today's sponsor. That is Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but being right on Prize Picks can get you paid. Don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Hit my last lineup back in the winning column. Hopefully that continues for your boy here, as I've had a pretty good season with Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. If you want to take more on Caleb Williams' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, you can right now, only on Prize Picks in one individual lineup. How about a 3-player lineup for tonight's game? I got Aaron Jones more than 13.5 receiving yards. The Vikings have activated him. He could do that on 1 catch, if not 2. I think Carson Wentz is going to dump it off a lot tonight, so I like that. More on Justin Jefferson's receiving yards. He was a little quiet last week, so I think he's going to get a lot of action. And then Quentin Johnston scored a lot of touchdowns so far this year. Demon play to find the end zone. Love that. $20 lineup to win $120 on this 3-player lineup. That's an example of a lineup. Pick more, pick less on 2 to 6-player lineups. You hit, you're good to go. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Okay, the following players were limited. Good news, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, who did not practice yesterday, they were limited. I think they're kind of just managing some very minor deals right now. So early in the week, you're seeing these guys not do much, but as the week progresses, they're getting out there, so that's a good sign. Kyler Gordon and Tremaine Edmonds, though, new additions today. Gordon obviously missed the first month with the hamstring, groin, calf. That always makes you nervous. He's had soft tissue problems at various moments in his career. And then Tremaine Edmonds, who's been terrific, dealing with an ankle. I'm not too concerned about that one. A, it's not a soft tissue. B, durability has not been a concern with him. But with Gordon, calf, groin, the soft tissue stuff, you always get a little bit worried about that. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And with those being new additions today, too, kind of to circle back to the Braxton Jones, you wonder, did they get banged up today? Did they start the practice well, then not finish it? So I think tomorrow's injury report, especially for those 2 players, will be very indicative of what their situations are. Hopefully both will play. Don't have any reason to think they won't, but that is where things sit right now. And then the following were full participants. Grady Jarrett, I think it's safe to say he'll be back on Sunday, which is a good sign. Wasn't playing great before the injury, but nice to have another defensive tackle option out there. Nahshon Wright, it's a great sign. Even though he's been up and down, you might be without Tyrique Stevenson, so you need Nahshon Wright on the field. Looks like he's going to be fine. Cairo Santos, full participant. More on him in a second. Obviously, this kicker situation is getting pretty interesting. And then, again, Austin Booker, Amon Ogbongbemiga, Booker in that 3rd week of his practice window. I went back and checked. He got that 21-day window started October 7th. Today is the 23rd. So technically they have till next Tuesday, so they could wait. But if they're going to activate him, it probably has to be by next Monday or Tuesday. So for sure by next Tuesday. So I still think if they do it, they're going to activate him this week and he's going to play in this game. But we'll have to wait and see. And then Amon, he's got a little bit more time. He's just in the 2nd week of that 3-week window that opened last week. But we'll see if they activate him this week or not. Is Cairo Santos back? That is the question, as this kicker conversation has been a bit of a polarizing one amongst the fan base. You know, I've been pretty clear. After that first game, I was like, I still think Cairo's the kicker, but obviously a hell of a story and nice to have Jake Moody in the fold developing on the practice squad. After the second game, you're like, okay, like, you know, we haven't seen Moody in a long-range situation, which is obviously where he can separate from Santos because he's got a bigger leg. None of the kicks he made on Sunday are ones you wouldn't expect Santos to make. I think his long was 39, but he's 8 for 9 in 2 games. So what do you do? Because if you're the Bears, you do have one more elevation off the practice squad for Jake Moody. Now, you could look at this 2 ways. One, you could save that, keep him on the practice squad, and if Santos struggles for whatever reason or, you know, retweaks the injury, well, you could elevate Moody for one more week without having to put him on the 53. Or on the other end of the spectrum, and this is something I said yesterday, and I kind of still believe it, unless Cairo is fully 100%, why not elevate Moody one more time? You've got one more. See how he kicks on the road in Baltimore, and then make a decision next week, because there is a world where you've kind of halfway lucked into Jake Moody being your long-term answer. He's 25 years old. He's got a big leg. By the way, and Richard Hightower made this point. We'll get to this a little bit later, but he kicked at Michigan. He can kick in elements, which is really critical to have a big leg kicker to do that. Now, obviously, more importantly, you got to be consistent and accurate, which is what Santos provides. But I still would like to see Moody kick this week and then just see, like, does he string together 3 really good games in a row? Because then I'm kind of intrigued. At the same time, you trust Cairo on kicks where he's in range. He's been rock solid. Obviously, his limitations are long range, and he's a little bit older. So I see both sides of it, but going to be interesting to see how they manage this and what his game designation will be tomorrow heading into this game. Who do you guys think kicks on Sunday? You think it's Cairo Santos type CS, Jake Moody type JM? Seems to be trending towards Santos, but I'm guessing this will be something Ben Johnson's asked about tomorrow as well. So if we get a major development on Friday, we'll have an update for you guys. We'll end with the coordinator stuff. Want to hit on one talking point that each coordinator discussed. Declan Doyle was asked about the Colston Loveland OPI, which clearly wasn't OPI, and in terms of like what's your guys' teaching points? Do you have to make any adjustments? Did you guys hear anything from the league? Because if you guys didn't know, teams send in plays each week based on officiating to get feedback from, like, hey, this is why it was called, or hey, we made a mistake on this call. Thanks for sending that in. We'll try to be better, yada, yada, that whole thing. Here's what Declan said when asked about the OPI call. He says, we always want to reach out to the league and figure out if we can teach that better. We're teaching it the right way, and we're going to continue to teach it that way. So that's my answer to that one. That's a workaround answer to not call out officiating because he doesn't want to get fined. If you clearly call out officiating, the league's going to fine you. In other words, they got feedback, hey, oops, bad call on our part. So that's what he's saying there. So it's unfortunate the Bears, the last 2 weeks in particular, really does seem like they've been on the wrong end of some, I don't even know if questionable is the right word. I think bad calls, but all you can do is send them in and get the feedback, and clearly they got feedback on that one that, yeah, that was not a Colston Loveland or a you guys coaching it wrong mistake. That was a mistake on our part. And speaking of Loveland, Declan talked about him a little bit more. They really like where he's at and what he's doing. And with Cole Kmet banged up, even if he plays, probably on a limited snap count, I still, especially hearing Ben Johnson's comments yesterday, I think the breakout game's coming because he's blocking his ass off. No block, no rock. He's blocking really well. He's getting open on some plays. Ben was talking yesterday. There's a lot of mouths to feed. I think 84's big game is coming soon. Maybe it's Sunday. At some point, it's happening because he's putting in the work. He's doing good things, and those type of things get rewarded at some point. So don't sell your stock on Colston Loveland. I think a good stretch could be coming here. Dennis Allen. He was obviously asked about getting revenge on the Saints, all that stuff, and here's what he had to say. He said, yeah, it was cool winning, getting the game ball. It felt good at the time. Certainly one I wanted to get. But in this league, you don't have a chance to sit and reflect, and we've moved on to Baltimore. And, I think this coaching staff's done a really good job of just kind of staying in the moment and understanding the task. Like, hey, we just won a game. We're fired up in the locker room. We're having our fun. You wake up the next day, especially for the coaches, maybe for the players, it's not till Monday night, Tuesday morning, but it's time to turn the page. And I think this coaching staff has done a good job of being serious, being critical, harping on the details, rewarding you when you win, when good things happen, but understanding, hey, there's another game next week. So I just think in general, what a hire this has been. I said it at the time. If Ben Johnson hits as a head coach, Dennis Allen could be this team's version of Steve Spagnuolo. Not necessarily as good as Steve Spagnuolo. He's considered one of the best defensive coordinators of all time. But what I mean is Dennis Allen's not getting a third head coaching job. Defensive guys don't get a third chance. You never say never, but I'd say that's very unlikely. He could be here for 10 years. if Ben Johnson's the long-term answer. And what a luxury that is for continuity, just for him being good at what he does. His defense seemingly continues to evolve. He's very exotic, especially on the back end, and I think that's evident with the amount of interceptions they've been able to get despite a lack of a pass rush. Full segment on that coming up on the channel, by the way. But really exciting to see what he's doing with this defense so far. And then lastly, Richard Hightower. He talked on a few things, had some good stuff on Travis Homer about his leadership and his value to this team, but also on Jake Moody. I alluded to this earlier. Credit CHGO Bears for kind of paraphrasing and tweeting this out a little bit earlier. Again, just what a smart coaching staff this is. He said they found some time last week to get Jake Moody out to Soldier Field before the game on Sunday. A, it's always a tough stadium to kick in, and B, rainy conditions were around the corner, windy. So to get him out there and kind of get a feel for the kicking surface, they were able to find a time for him to get some reps in there. And also Hightower kind of mentioned that, hey, he's a cold weather kicker, kicked at Michigan, obviously. But Moody's been a great story. He's 8 for 9 on kicks. He was 4 for 4 at Soldier Field on Sunday. He's made all his extra points. 8 for 9 in tough conditions, because remember, Washington, not exactly an easy stadium to kick in either. And it was windy and rainy in that game as well. And he only missed the one kick, which was blocked. Now, I do think that was a low-flighted kick. I don't think he helped himself out at all. But the point is he's been pretty steady in two not so ideal kicking situations. So again, this kicker discussion, I think it's a little ongoing. Tomorrow's going to be interesting to see if Cairo has an injury designation or not for Sunday, and to see who they kick in this ball game, because Jake Moody's been a bit of a revelation so far. Small sample size, but really good results. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Friday, big day on the injury front. We'll probably have an episode from my house as I am off tomorrow, but I want to get you guys up to date on Lamar and everything. So assuming there's significant news, we will have that covered. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Bear down. All right. The Polish hardware store, very simple. Beat the Ravens. Let's go.
Logan Wilson requested a trade, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was my kind of eyebrow-raising moment there, per Adam Schefter.
Yeah, he kind of got soft benched last week. He played a little bit down the stretch, but they benched him and Cam Taylor-Britt before that game against Pittsburgh. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Very interesting.
Not a player for the Bears to monitor. They're in a good spot at off-ball linebacker, but
yep. Posey says, hey, guys, want to let everyone know that I will be going to the game in Baltimore. Hopefully we go on a 5-game win streak. Why is Swift on the injury report?
He's been on it the last few weeks. It just hasn't been a big talking point, Cullen, because he's played in every game. Right. But I think he's been dealing with a minor groin issue maybe since that Raiders game. I'm not sure, but he's fine. Didn't practice yesterday, limited today. I think it was similar to last week. I think he was technically questionable, but it was one of those, since they don't have probable anymore, if it's not 100% they're going to play, you got to put him in that questionable category. But I expect him to play. I expect him to be fine. Now, we saw last week it was more of a 55-45, 60-40 split, so I do think the Kyle Monungai, role will continue to be in that 40% range, which I want regardless of Swift's injury situation. But, you might be kind of finally finding that 1-2 punch if you're Ben Johnson. But Swift's obviously been awesome the last couple of weeks. You want him out there, and I think he's going to be out there. So, we might know more tomorrow, but I wouldn't be – that's not one to be overly concerned about. I think Stevenson and Kmet are the two to watch. Can they do something tomorrow and have a chance to play Sunday, or are they going to be out? And if they are going to be out, especially at corner, I want to see which corners are playing, because they didn't work out any this week. I would imagine Dallas Flowers off the practice squad would be elevated. He was elevated for a game earlier in the year, but you'd probably go Nashawn Wright on the outside, Kyler Gordon on base downs on the outside, and maybe in nickel he's outside too, and you go Nick McLeod in the nickel, something like that. So you're not going to have a ton of true outside corner options, because even last week, I don't think they put Jalen Jones out there at all. So I think they only like him for special teams. So, yeah, I mean, he is an outside corner, but I think he's their last guy they want to put out there in the secondary.
Yeah, Dennis Allen also before the season and really leading up to the beginning of the year, has really praised Kyler Gordon's versatility. So I think, to your point, use him on base downs. Use him, honestly, in nickel packages if you're not confident with your other outside guys. And
yeah, he'll probably play a lot of outside, and I think he can do that. The downside to that is you can use him in so many different ways when he's at nickel. I mean, they brought him on that blitz, which was an effective play. He's obviously great in run support, so you lose a little bit of that. So it'll be interesting to see how they mix and match if Stevenson can't go. So we'll see what they say tomorrow. Appreciate the 10, though. Justin, I'll be at the game to watch the Bears get another dub. Let's go, Justin. Bring home a dub for us. Let's make it 5 straight.
Yeah, I don't know if, Justin and Posey will run into each other, but that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're both going to the game.
Go get a beverage. There you go. TJ, Thursday Night Football, NBA games tonight, World Series winner. Who do you guys got? I mean, I don't even know who's playing in the NBA tonight.
It is Thunder Pacers and Nuggets Warriors.
I'll take the Thunder, and then I will take the Nuggets, and then World Series. I'll go Dodgers 6. I'll give Toronto 2 games, but I think the Dodgers win that thing. And then Thursday Night Football. Thursday night can get weird, but I think this is a Chargers spot. Carson Wentz has not been great. He hasn't been disastrous, but this is not a Sam Darnold 2.0 situation with Kevin O'Connell with Carson Wentz. I could see them hanging around. Is that game in LA tonight?
I'm not sure.
Let's
Albert
see.
Breer literally just tweeted out an article that he put out an hour ago.
It's in LA. I like LA in that game.
Again, I'm not sure how much of this is, you've gotten to read, Harry, or if you've seen it at all. But he basically just reiterated that this is about McCarthy's health and not anything else in terms of him not playing tonight.
There seems to be a full court press, PR. This almost feels like a PR play from the Vikings, where it's like every insider is like reporting that it's about the health. And look, I'm not saying it's not, but it's just like, I don't know. I'll say this. If he does not play next week, especially if Carson Wentz doesn't play great tonight and is out, I mean, you're talking that's 7 weeks. I don't know, man. Like, it almost feels like they're protecting him in the public, which I could appreciate. Like, hey, you don't want to, like, you want to, even if you don't fully believe it in the building, like, he's your guy, all that stuff. I get it, but if he does not play next week, especially if Wentz struggles tonight and they lose, because to me, Colin, you lose tonight, you're 3-4, you're not done, but it's like at some point, don't you have to find out if JJ's the guy?
Yep.
Minnesota's too talented of a roster. You can't go into the offseason not having somewhat of an answer. Like, I'm playing McCarthy the rest of the way, especially if they lose tonight. Assuming he's healthy.
Yeah.
Situation.
Listen, it just kind of goes back to, what the biggest question for the Vikings was this offseason was it the right move to move off of a guy that, passed for over 4,000 yards, over 30 touchdowns? Like, again, Sam Darnold is who he is. He's not a perfect quarterback by any means, but they, kind of put all their eggs in the basket of the J.J. McCarthy, kind of wagon here, and so far has been to the greatest start. So we'll see if he, to your point, plays next week, see what the approach to that is. To answer your question, TJ, I'm also going to roll with the Chargers tonight. I just think that they're kind of the more desperate, healthy-ish kind of team that
I just trust Justin Herbert more than Carson Wentz.
Too.
I mean, I know I don't want to make it that simple, but
Yeah. I'm also going to roll, same as Harry, Thunder and Warriors tonight for the NBA.
No, I took the Nuggets. So
you took the Nuggets.
We're split on that one.
Okay, so we'll split on that. I think the Warriors, I think they're a deep team.
They looked good the other night.
They did. So I'll go with them. And then Dodgers in 4. No bias in that whatsoever.
Wow.
No bias in that whatsoever.
Yeah. That's a bummer. Is it game 1 tomorrow?
Game 1.
Game 1. You should be flying out there. It's a damn shame.
Damn shame.
Well, at least you got to see your Thunder win in double OT on opening night. It's a nice little silver lining. You would have much rather them lose by 50 if that meant the Mariners were in the World Series, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, all things considered, like,
you've had a pretty good run here. I mean, Thunder won the chip.
Yeah. F1 season's going good for your boy, too.
North Texas is good.
North Texas is pretty good.
I mean,
can't complain.
Things could be worse.
I'm trying to bring that luck, to the Bears, too.
You could be a Bears fan the last 15 years. Johnny VP, Zay Frazier would be helpful right about now. Yeah, I actually was thinking about him the other day. I was like, I don't know the rules, but like I know they said they were going to sit him out for the year, but I don't know if the NFI, if you actually can activate him. I assume, I don't think they would pivot off that stance, whatever he was dealing with. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he gets back into the fold next year at some point. Hopefully he does. Ron Rivera, is that you, Coach? You think I guess so. You think I'll ever get a head coaching job again?
Mm-hmm.
Not in the NFL. What is he, the Cal GM now?
Yeah,
I think so.
I'd be shocked if Riverboat Ron ever makes a return to the.
I think he's, I don't even think he's really a DC camp. I think senior analyst, if he wants to be on an NFL team, can help a young head coach out, something like that. But that's kind of just what he's doing at Cal. He's giving back to his alma mater. So I'd be surprised. I'll tell you what, that quarterback they have at Cal, he could sling it.
Yeah.
He's pretty fun to watch. So. Tyler with the 5. With how the secondary is doing without JJ, could we consider trading Jalen Johnson for a star pass rusher and draft Jalen's replacement next year? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still feel like Jalen's a part of the future of this team. I also don't know what he's going to be like after the injury. I also don't know what's his trade value in the offseason if he doesn't play. Like, you can't trade him now even if you wanted to. No one's trading for a guy who may not even play the rest of the year. He's injured. And if they did, they would get pennies on the dollar, so that wouldn't make sense. But even this offseason, like, if he doesn't play the rest of the year, what are you getting for Jalen Johnson? I think that's a huge unknown with the surgery. So I don't really see a world where he gets traded. I think he's in the fold at least next year. After next year, they can pivot off of him pretty easily based on his contract. But I think he's in the fold. He's still a young player, kind of a freakish injury. And there's a chance he comes back down the stretch this year, especially if the Bears are in the mix. So
I would still also say he's the best Bears defensive player. Again, there's been some improvements from a lot of guys around the board and everything. Jalen Johnson at his healthiest, he's one of the better cornerbacks in all of football.
Yeah. I mean, you could say at this literal second, Kevin Byard's the best player on this defense. Does that continue? We'll see. But yeah, I mean, Jalen's your most valuable defensive player, I would say. We'll see how he is after the injury, obviously.
Wasim.
He says, ouch, that secondary is a worry with Rome and Luther developing. Do you see more on the team long term? Let's go Blackhawks. Blackhawks off to a nice little start. They've been competitive. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of one of my bold predictions coming into the year was one of Cole Kmet or DJ Moore won't be on this team after this year. We'll see. 6 games in, I could see that still being the case for one, if not both those guys. DJ's obviously got the bigger contract, so if you're looking to clear out more cash, he would be the guy you move. Luther's shown a lot of good things. He's getting open a lot, but he's still kind of being used as a part-time player. So if the season ended today, I don't know if you would have enough information to move off of DJ Moore, especially considering Zacchaeus has not been bad, but I don't think he's been quite as good as based on the reporting from training camp. Like, if anything, you would just let him walk and you would just go with Rome, DJ, and Luther next year as your 3. So to be determined, Wasim. We'll see how it goes. I'm definitely a big believer in Luther Burden and his future. Rome as well. I still like DJ as a player, but he's a little older and he's got a big contract. So if they feel good about the rest of that room and wanted to move him for a different piece, you certainly could explore that. But what I will say confidently I'd be stunned if they moved him before the deadline. I think that's off the table. So we'll see about long term. And yeah, with the secondary, I mean, if Stevenson's out, you're going to be pretty thin this week. So, could see some 3 safety looks with Jonathan Owens in there. They've gone to that some. That's also an option. If you did that, Colin, he could be like your 3rd safety nickel with Kyler and Nashawn Wright on the outside. You could probably get by for a game doing that. If I will say this, if they felt like Tyrique was going to miss extended time, I think some corners would have worked out this week. I feel like this is a 1 game or less situation. Otherwise, there would have been at least a report of like them look at something. Mm-hmm. Like if they thought he was going to miss a month, I don't think you're just rolling with what you got. So, we'll see if he can go Sunday. I'd say it's DNP's 2 days in a row. I'll give him a 35% chance to play. We'll see what he does tomorrow.
I will say, look, and obviously, we'll wait and see how the rest of the season pans out. I do get the sense that the Bears eventually want to get Luther more involved in the offense and potentially set him up to where there's at least the question going into next season of, is Luther Burden the second wide receiver on this team?
Yeah, you'd like to go into the off season with options. Like,
right.
Hey, if the right opportunity came up, could we trade DJ Moore and get a key piece back or a big draft pick?
Right.
You always want to have that versatility as a front office and as a team because the second they drafted Luther Burden, it made somebody expendable. And you figure Rome's going to be here a while. The dream scenario, I think, would be by the end of the season, it's like, okay, Luther's a badass, Rome's a badass, DJ's awesome, we love him, but if we can get something notable for him in return, you could either draft a third receiver later in the draft. You could bring back Zacchaeus for cheap to be your third receiver, and you clear out some of that money. So we're a long way from that. And again, I'm not saying I don't want DJ a part of this team moving forward, but based on where you draft Rome and Luther, long term, you want those to be your two guys. That's that you don't draft Luther Burden in the second round to be some gadget player. So I think that's looking at a long term lens, if you will. That's the hope that him and Luther are your top two guys, regardless of who's the one and who's the two. So, all right, all good questions. Appreciate the super chats and whatnot. So. Continue to fire those in. Hashtag Bears as well. We'll get those questions in. John Taylor, we will answer that question in the actual mailbag segment, which we are about to do. So stay tuned. We will get your super chat here on the show. But keep firing in those questions. Hashtag Bears or super chat. Trade ideas. Questions about Sunday. We're getting a few off-season questions already. Those are always acceptable as well. Mailbag time coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's rip through another Chicago Bears mailbag, hashtag Bears or super chat to get on the show. From Chicago's finest, would the Texans consider trading Danielle Hunter if they keep losing? This is kind of an interesting one. They gave him a one-year extension this offseason of about $35 million for 2026, but they gave him a pretty large signing bonus to keep the cap hits down. So we'll kind of break that down in a second. I saw this question in the comments, so I wanted to include it on the show. He's got 4 sacks, 25 pressures. His pressure rate's been really high this year. Average against the run, that's kind of par for the course for him. We compared him a lot to Trey Hendrickson this offseason. Really good pass rusher, average against the run, but he can really get after the quarterback. I've always liked Danielle Hunter going back to his days in Minnesota. He obviously knows the division really well. If they were to trade for him, or any team were to trade for him, these are the cap hits. This year is $7.45 million. And by the way, that goes down by the week. That's prorated by the week. And since we're 7 weeks in or whatever, that would continue to decrease as you get closer to the trade deadline. Even next year, only $23.1 million for who he is as a pass rusher. That's not a crazy number. So those are numbers for the acquiring teams, which of course the Bears would be in this case. Keep an eye on Houston. They got 2 more tough games before the deadline. 49ers and Broncos. They're both at home, but if they go 1-1 or hell 0-2, let's say they go 0-2, fall to 2-6. I mean, they're out of the mix, especially in that division. Indy's already 6-1. Even the Jags are 4-3. So I think Houston is already in some trouble. And with Danielle Hunter being 30 years old, could they look to trade him? And I wonder if they could become a bit of a seller here over these next couple of weeks. And would the Bears be interested in Hunter, 30 years old? I don't know if you'd want to extend him, but you'd have a year and a half of team control at a relatively reasonable number. Now, would you go into next season with Danielle Hunter at $23 million, Montez Sweat at $24-25 million, and Dio Adangbo at $16 million? You'd probably move one of those other 2 guys in this scenario, but you could absorb him this year and worry about that in the offseason if you really wanted to. So if it wasn't a crazy price, I'd make a call. Not saying Houston would do it, but he'd be a fun player in Dennis Allen's defense, I'll tell you that. Would you trade Danielle Hunter or for Danielle Hunter? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Wouldn't do a first. Not even sure I'd do a second at his age, but 3rd-round pick? It's pretty damn good. A 3rd-round pick for a year and a half, even if you don't keep him long-term, would not be the worst thing ever. Maybe you extend him for 1 year. have him for 2.5 years. So I don't think it'll happen, but interesting idea there. Okay, more questions here. $10 super chat from John Taylor. Is there any combination of cuts we could make to try and free up cap space for an above-average edge? And if you could, who would you try and get? Also love how Kyle Monangai has been running bear down. Appreciate it, John. Yeah, Monangai, arrow pointing up. We hope that continues. In terms of, like, cuts, you know, a guy like Chris Williams is making $3 million this year. We're 7 weeks in. He's kind of buried at defensive tackle. He's probably your 4th or 5th guy. You could cut him, save a couple $1 million. You could always restructure guys, but again, when you restructure, it kicks money down the road, so it makes it tougher to move off players in the near future. So there's always things you can do, but I don't know if there's any like just obvious move. I guess one that potentially could come into play is an extension for like Kevin Byard. Could you extend him for next year at a reasonable deal, lower his cap hit for this year in the process? That could clear a couple $1 million potentially, and the way he's playing, I'd be comfortable bringing him back for next year. I don't think you'd do more than a 1-year extension given his age, but, you know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you could probably save a couple $1 million doing that. But as far as who you could go and get, you know, there's no free agents that really stand out at this point. You know, we've talked about some of the middle round-ish type of trade offer guys, the Jalen Phillips, the Jermaine Johnsons, who apparently is staying in New York. But, yeah, I don't know how much big moves in terms of moving money around you would actually do to make that happen. Okay, Caden Goodvaldson, which non-quarterback on the roster has the highest ceiling? Highest ceiling. I mean, like, Joe Thuney's like a cop-out answer because he's a Hall of Famer. But if I'm thinking young guys, a couple that come to mind. Darnell Wright, I think he could be an all-pro tackle in this league. We've seen flashes of it. It just comes down to cleaning up the minor things. I think he's a guy. I think Luther Burden and Rome could be fucking awesome players. I mean, you're already seeing Rome have a pretty good year. A couple quiet weeks here. Get a little more consistent. Get back to catching those contested balls, but he could be a big-time player. I think Burden, he has so much potential, and it's not just like him in space. Like his route running, he's getting a lot of separation. I think he could be one of the best returners in the league. I think he's a special talent. So those are a few guys: Darnell, Rome, Luther. You know, I still think Stevenson on defense, you're seeing him take a step. I think he's got the physical tools to be one of the best corners in the league. He's over 6 feet tall. He's got long arms. He can really run. He can tackle. Ball skills are good. You know, for him, it's just about kind of like Darnell on offense. It's just about tightening up the consistency overall. So you got guys who have a chance to be blue chip players. It's just about taking that next step. All right, before we get back to your mailbag questions, Brunt, the best working boots in the game. Let me tell you a little bit about Brunt, as they are today's sponsor. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. And if they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Brunt thought that was BS, so they built tough boots that feel great from day one. As a homeowner, there's always projects around the house to work on, and Brunt's boots are no doubt the most comfortable work boots I've ever worn, and they felt comfortable right out of the box. Sometimes I buy sneakers, and that's not the case. But they're not just comfortable. They're built to perform. Whether you need waterproof, safety toe, soft toe, pull-on, or lace-up, they've got options that can handle whatever job site you're walking into is. Before I found Brunt, I can't tell you how many different working boots I tried and went through. I was always either left with foot pain or blisters, or maybe there was water on the site and it seeped through and got my socks wet. You never like that. Or they just didn't last that long. Maybe they did perform well, but 6 months later they'd be done. That's not the case with Brunt. Right now, for a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use our code CHAT at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com, use the code CHAT, and you're good to go. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work way too hard to get stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better, boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, again, $10 off at Brunt when you use code CHAT, C-H-A-T, at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com, use the code CHAT. You're good to go for $10 off. And after you order, they'll ask where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor. Tell them it was us from Bears Now. Okay, Bear Down in Louisville. Whether Lamar plays or not, still going to be a Bears dub. How much does spread number change if Lamar doesn't play? Right now, Bears are plus 6.5. Look, your guys' call, but I thought 6.5 was a little high to begin with, so I don't hate a little money line play for those who like to splurge out there. And I like it even more considering there's a chance Lamar doesn't play or that he's limited. Now, by the time you're watching this, we may have a clear answer on if he's playing or not. So, obviously, monitor the injury reports. We'll have it all covered here. If he doesn't play, like if it's known before kickoff, I think that it's at least a couple points, maybe even gets into the threes. I really like the Bears' chances if he doesn't play, but I also think the Bears can win this game if he does. I think that number's high, even though, like I've said all week, this is an empty the tank game for Baltimore. They're getting guys healthy. They're 1-5. They have to have this game. They're at home, coming off the bye. There's a lot of reasons to like the Ravens in this one. I understand Vegas making them a favorite, but a touchdown favorite, that's a little rich for a team going up against a team that's won 4 in a row. Okay, Noah, what do you think we'll need to do to try and draft Jeremiah Love? He's phenomenal. However, his backup price would not be bad at all. Yeah, Jadarian Price, I think he's a day 2 guy. That's pretty intriguing to me. I still look at this team. Don't get me wrong. I love Jeremiah Love. But look at the last 2 weeks. Ben Johnson can make it work with non-elite running backs. Now, it makes you salivate at the idea of if he got an elite talent like a Jeremiah Love, how good it could look. But at the same time, like, if there's a big-time edge rusher in the first round that you like when you're picking or a left tackle, those are just more valuable positions. I'm not saying I wouldn't take Jeremiah Love in the first round if he was sitting there for the Bears, but if there's some guy that can get after the quarterback, because Ryan Poles has put a lot of money into this defensive line, but what he hasn't done is spent a premium pick on a defensive lineman. Like, go get one. First round, second round, get one. Left tackle, you might have to go draft one early. So I love Jeremiah Love, but look at these last 2 weeks, man. It's best running attack in the NFL. I don't think it's going to continue at this clip, but Ben Johnson will find answers in the run game, and I would like to upgrade long term, but you can also upgrade on day 2. There might be another free agent you like. Who knows? If this continues, by the way, Swift and Monungai, they could be your backs next year. Like that could be perfectly fine. So let's see how this plays out. I understand the Jeremiah Love stuff. Fun player, talented player, but that's not going to be an all eggs in one basket situation. I think getting an impactful lineman on either side of the ball, that would be an area I would rather attack. All right, subscribe today. We do these live mailbags. Take your questions every Monday and Thursday at 4 o'clock Central Time. So hit that sub button, turn on the notification bell. That way you know when we go live and do these mailbags. Also, we go live every game day. So not only do we break down the game, pregame, in-game reaction, post-game shows, but throughout the course of the game, we're answering your questions as well. So plenty of opportunities to get on the show. All you got to do is subscribe and join us. All right, Mike Media, 1923. If Stevenson is out, how does our D shift in the game plan? Yeah, I mean, are you a little less aggressive in terms of how often you're running man coverage? The good news is the Ravens have good receivers, but they don't have like a Jamar Chase, right? Like in some ways, you're happy you're playing Baltimore this week and Cincinnati next week and not vice versa. Because if Stevenson was out and you were rolling with Nashawn Wright as your number 1 outside guy against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, that would be a concern. That would be a concern. So, I could see if Stevenson isn't quite ready that they might just save him for Cincy. Hopefully he's ready for that game. Hopefully he plays this week. But, you could see a little bit of a safer plan on the back end, but maybe you also blitz a little bit more on the front end to try and force Lamar to get the ball out quicker to try to avoid those big plays. So we'll see. Dennis Allen's found good answers with key guys out throughout this season. Outside of that Detroit game, he's done a hell of a job. Kiddis, what are your expectations for Caleb this Sunday? What I expect without getting into how many touchdowns this set, I expect him to bounce back and play better than he did against the Saints. He rarely has 2 bad games in a row. I did not think he was good against the Saints. I don't think he was horrible. He took care of the ball for the most part. He did what he needed to do in a game that you should have won anyway. So, it wasn't some disastrous performance, but I think he needs to play better if they're going to win this game. I do think he'll play better on Sunday. Against Baltimore in terms of a stat line, whatever. I think he'll be a little bit more efficient than he was this week, and hopefully it's a notable better game. That's kind of what I'm expecting. All right, speaking of the game, predict the score, Bears-Ravens. Who wins? What's the final score going to be? My early week prediction was Ravens 27-24 if Lamar plays, which I expect. I reserve the right to change that before kickoff, but that's where I'm sitting right now. We'll see what it looks like on Sunday. All right, Big Dumper, would you rather trade for Jalen Phillips or Jermaine Johnson if the comp is the same? Jermaine Johnson, because you have the fifth-year option next year already exercised. So you get a year and a half of control. Jalen Phillips, you almost have to extend him if you trade for him. Now, if it's like a sixth-round pick, okay, you could treat it like a rental, then make a call in the offseason. But I don't think the Dolphins would trade him for that little comp. So I would do Jermaine Johnson. To me, they're a similar caliber player. Johnson's coming off the Achilles. I get it, but Jalen Phillips has had injuries as well. If all things are equal, I would do Jermaine Johnson. Pizzatola, with all the talk about potential trade targets, who is realistically available that would be a definite upgrade from a current Bear? I don't know if he's realistically available, but even though Nahshon Wright's been good, I think Reek Woolen is a better player. So is that someone you would look at? DeAndre Swift has been really good the last couple of weeks, but Breece Hall is better. The question is, do you want to trade for a notable draft pick for a running back when you've gotten the run game going? So there's always trades you can make that can upgrade a position, but it comes down to a ton of things. Do you feel good about that position despite a potential upgrade being out there? How much do you want to give up in compensation? What's that player's contract situation? Do you need to extend him to keep him long term? Do you have some team control? So all these things factor in, but there's always options. But you have to play that balancing game of the present and the future. That's why being a GM is a pretty damn difficult job. All right, appreciate all the questions. A lot of good ones today. At HRAMNFL, Twitter, and Instagram. DMs are open if we didn't get to you today, or if you have more questions, give me a follow on those platforms. Slide in the DMs. Still got to catch up on some from the game last week, so I will do that this weekend. Bear down. All right.
A lot of good questions from you guys.
Yeah, good stuff today. Good mailbag questions.
I'll go some shout-outs to some score predictions. My guy Walter Caldwell saying 27-13. I'm assuming for the Bears. We got Michael.
That'd be a statement.
Michael 31-17. Bears. Feeling confident. Christian, he was limited in practice for the second day in a row, but it based on kind of just logical inference, it's more than likely he's going to play. It's not for sure yet, but it's more than likely he's going to play. JJ says 17-24. Ziganji 30-17. We got Mike Media 25-24 Bears. We got Brian 21-20 Bears. Colton says 25-24 for the third time in a row. Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy? Another 25-24 game.
3 out of 4 games.
Yeah.
They've scored 25, 25, and 26 the last 3 weeks. So.
Yeah. 33-6 Ravens from Lionheart. That's a little depressing, but Nick says 23-13. Reed's Boy says 69-0 Bears. Nice. Jose 27-23, 34-20 from Chua. Harley says 28-27 Bears. Allen 28-22 Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears. Also 90-10% who you got. So we got some confident people in the chat. Loving that.
By the way, we're going to talk about Jermaine Johnson in our trade targets video, but multiple reporters have confirmed that Jermaine Johnson tweeting out the "I'm not leaving" Wolf of Wall Street, that wasn't just like his preference. He talked to the front office, and they want to keep him, and he wants to stay there. We're still going to talk about him in that segment. Maybe something changes in the next 12 days, but sounds like he's not going anywhere. Which isn't that surprising because he's still a young, talented player who's under contract through next year. It's not a Jalen Phillips situation where Miami may have already come to the conclusion that they don't want to extend him and use their resources elsewhere. So we will mention all of that, but that is where that situation sits. Okay, we will continue with our show. We're good?
We're doing good.
Appreciate you. Good. We're so good. Never been this good.
Great.
Some saying great.
Shout out to lead producer Sam Brown.
Sam Brown, making sure we're on our P's and Q's. Luke Clark says, Lamar update. If you're just joining us, he was limited again today. My educated guess is he'll be limited tomorrow and be listed as questionable. probably will play, but won't be 100%. That's my guess here on Thursday at 5 o'clock. So we'll see. We'll have it covered tomorrow, especially if there's a significant update. So, of course, hit that subscribe button. All right, we still got 2 more segments. A lot of ball to talk. Are we doing the trade stuff here? All right. Tearing out some trade targets here on Chicago Bears Now. Then coming up in about 15 minutes, Dennis Allen. What a great job he's doing with this defense, some numbers, some players that I want to shout out. So stay tuned for that. It's all next here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. It is trade season in the NFL as we are less than 2 weeks away from the 2025 NFL trade deadline on November 4th. Shout out producer Cullen Brown. He came up with this segment idea a few weeks ago, and we're bringing it to you today. I'm going to explore 15 Bears trade targets in 3 different categories, which are as follows. Number 1, blockbuster, high-end starters, stars, like wow type of move, right? Like a potentially season-altering type of move. Significant starting caliber player. Maybe you upgrade at a weakness. Maybe you enhance a position. Starting caliber or very high-end rotation player is what you're looking at here. And then a minor move, maybe you bring in a role player, someone who can rotate in, contribute heavily on special teams, be a backup, or, some kind of a project, right? Like sometimes you see these pick swap type of trades where a team punts on a player because it's not working out there. Other teams take a chance. Think, for example, when the Bears claimed Alex Leatherwood off waivers with the Raiders a couple years ago, first-round pick who didn't work out in Vegas. Bears brought him in, didn't work out. But that type of move, like a minor trade, 6th, 7th-round pick swap, something like that. 6-7, as they say. Okay, 4 blockbuster targets. And obviously, from blockbuster to significant to minor, you're going from least to more likely, right? So these guys we're going to talk about here, not very likely. I don't think Trey Hendrickson is very likely at this point, not only for the Bears, but in general. That last Thursday night, and it's been well documented, well reported, Bengals-Steelers, it really did feel like that was a turning point for the Bengals season. It was, if we win, we're going to keep Trey Hendrickson. We're going to go for it with Joe Flacco and try to stay in the playoff hunt until hopefully Joe Burrow comes back. If we lose, Pittsburgh separates even further in the division. Maybe we trade Trey Hendrickson and kind of punt on the season. But with them winning, they're 3-4. They're only a game and a half back. I think that it's pretty clear that they want to keep Trey Hendrickson and go for it. Now, could that change? They play the Jets this week. If they lose to the Jets, and then if the Bears, which of course we're hoping to beat Cincinnati, let's say they lose these 2, could that change? Could you go from we're all in to we're all out at 3-6? I think they would have to lose both of these to reconsider their position on Trey Hendrickson. So keep an eye on it. Go Jets, go! If you're in camp, bring me Trey Hendrickson, and then obviously tongue in cheek here. Winner in Week 9 gets Hendrickson. If you lose to the Bears, you got to trade him to us. What do you say, Cincinnati? Obviously, joking there. But if they lose the Jets, maybe the door reopens for them to consider trading Hendrickson. Beyond that, though, I think he's probably staying at this point in time. Jeffery Simmons, similar type of deal, not because the Titans are having a relevant season, but it's been pretty well reported that Tennessee does not want to trade him. Ian Rappaport said that after they fired Brian Callahan, Tennessee's phone started to ring a lot about teams trying to trade for Jeffery Simmons, and they were saying we're not doing that. Diana Rossini even went as far as saying they're willing to trade anyone not named Cam Ward or Jeffery Simmons. Now, these things can change. We've heard stuff like this before. Like I remember Devontae Adams in Green Bay, a good example. It was always, we're never trading him, and then they did. So you never know. What if Simmons comes out and requests a trade? Like these things can be fluid, and if they lose twice again before the deadline and it's just embarrassing, would they just take a haul for him? I don't know if the Bears would be that team to give a big offer. You'd have to move some money around. Obviously, the Bears have like $8-9 million in cap space, so they'd have to free some up by trading another piece or restructuring some contracts. They could make it work if they wanted to, but it doesn't seem like the Titans are moving Jeffery Simmons. It doesn't seem like the Raiders are moving Maxx Crosby either, especially after Tom Pelissero's report from earlier this week. I actually scripted a show about the idea of trading for Crosby because there was that Trey Wingo report that the Cowboys called in to check on Maxx at the Raiders, but Pelissero later that day had the report that the Raiders and Crosby met, and the Raiders told Maxx that they are not shopping him and will not trade him. This situation has felt for years now in Vegas that the only way they would consider trading him is if he requested a trade. And up to this point, he hasn't. He's been loyal. He wants to make it work there, which is something that Pelissero has talked, that he wants to win more than anyone, and he wants to do it with the Raiders. I still think at some point, like, you got to, fight for your career, right? Like, you just want to be on a losing team forever. But it seems like for now, he's not going to pivot off that stance of staying loyal to Las Vegas. This one's pretty interesting. It's been mostly quiet on Quinnen Williams, but Connor Hughes, SNY, who covers the Jets and the Giants, did have an interesting little nugget here. He said this recently, quote, he said, I was told by somebody very tied into this situation that the Jets are probably looking at a 2, trade value-wise, second-round pick when it comes to Quinnen Williams. He said there are rumblings around there that Quinnen Williams is unhappy. Why wouldn't he be? The Jets suck. That's the perception around the league. And I was like, okay, I'll just look at this. What's the cap hit situation? Well, his cap hit, if you traded for him today and that 2025 number goes down by the week because it's prorated by game, it's only $10.27 million. The Bears can almost absorb that right now. A minor move and boom, they're there. So they could take him on. 20.7 next year, 25.4 in 2027, and there's an out after 2026. So you would have a pretty reasonable contract here that you'd be taking on. Now, the Bears have a lot of big contracts set for next year, so you'd probably have to restructure somebody in the offseason or trade somebody. But that would be a question for 5 months from now. You wouldn't have to deal with that today. His contract's pretty reasonable, and he's a really good pass rusher on the interior. He can play the run as well. Him and Javon Dexter next to each other would be pretty fun. So, and only a second-round pick for a guy of his status. That would intrigue me pretty good, especially since you can absorb his contract this year without having to do that much with your books. Again, not saying any of these are likely, and in fact, based on where the Bears are right now, I would tend to think that a blockbuster trade is unlikely, or even a Montez Sweat caliber move is probably not going to happen. Now, you win the next 2 weeks, who knows, right? Like, you're feeling good about yourself. Maybe you feel like you're one big piece away from making a run this year. Again, the NFL is a very fluid league when it comes to teams and how they view themselves. So, I would bet against it, but, I'm an aggressive-minded guy. So, like, if they were 7-2 and took a swing on a Quinnen Williams, like, I could understand the move. So, we'll see how the next couple of weeks play out, but I would say it's pretty unlikely that they make that big swing. Should the Bears make a blockbuster trade, do you want to go all in? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Today, I would lean no. Ask me in 2 weeks, though. Things could certainly change. Okay, significant trade targets. And again, these are for starting caliber players or at minimum high-end contributors, rotation players that play a lot. Jermaine Johnson. Now, Jermaine Johnson in the last 48 hours has been in the headlines because he tweeted this out, the classic Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not leaving, I'm not effing leaving, and everybody was like, well, is that him sending a message to the Jets, or has he been told something? And then on Thursday, he met with the media and multiple reporters, Rich Simony of ESPN as well. I want to give Nick Faria credit first. He had it saying that he spoke with Jermaine about his tweet, and that Jermaine Johnson told Faria and Rich Simony later that he got clarification from the Jets saying they want to keep him, and he told them he wants to stay. So, look, again, fluid league, things can change. If they're 0-9, maybe they would pivot off that stance, but he's been pretty consistent that he wants to stay there. I don't know why. The Jets are a joke, but it sounds like he's not going to get moved, at least not at this point in time, which is kind of unfortunate because he's been the name I've actually been most intrigued by in terms of reporting of guys who could be available in this cycle. And the reason for that is one, he's still pretty young. Two, this contract, this year it's nothing. Next year, 13.4 on the fifth-year option. You wouldn't have to panic extend him right away. You could get him in here, see how he fits in this defense, and even if it's just a year-and-a-half rental for like a fourth-round pick, which would be my offer, probably wouldn't go with the third considering he has a torn Achilles in his injury history. if that's the worst case scenario, 4th-round pick for a year-and-a-half guy that you let go, that's not that bad for a guy who at minimum would be a good rotation piece, but potentially a high-end starter. So we'll see if that situation changes, but sounds like it's unlikely. Riq Woolen, I was told it's been about a week and a half now that the Bears were scouring around the corner market. Now Tyrique Stevenson's a little banged up again. We don't know how much time he's going to miss, if any, but even if he doesn't, you are still a little bit thin in terms of depth at the cornerback position, especially on the outside. You got Tyrique and Nahshon Wright, but your top backup outside corner is Jalen Jones, and when Tyrique went out last against the Saints, they didn't even put him in. They put Kyler on the outside, brought Nick McLeod in the game, so it's not like the Bears have a third outside corner that they feel good about. Now, Riq Woolen, I would think you'd probably only trade for him if you were going to start him, but here's what Jeremy Fowler has reported, ESPN.com. He said multiple league execs have Woolen earmarked as a strong trade candidate leading into the deadline. Quote, they've been wanting to move him for a while, one executive said. That exec continued to say, quote, he doesn't fit what Mike Macdonald wants to do. Close quote. Fowler added this, Woolen would be best served going to a team that can use his man coverage traits. That's a Dennis Allen fit. One potential hurdle to a deal, Seattle's other starting corner, Devon Witherspoon, has had a difficult time staying healthy this season. And we saw the other night with Witherspoon out, I thought Riq Woolen played pretty well against the Houston Texans. Had, I think, a couple breakups, was pretty sticky in coverage too. He can be a little grabby at times, but, you know, his rookie year, he has this all-world year. Then he's not quite as good since then. I would say if you add up his whole career, he's played like a CB2. He's not an all-pro, but, you know, he's got more skins on the wall than Nahshon Wright. And listen, I like what Nahshon Wright has done. As a guy who's been a journeyman, a fringe roster guy, he has earned his paycheck this year. There is no question about it. I want to see how he plays the next 2 weeks. If he struggles, especially you got that Bengals game coming up, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, if he gets exposed in a game like that, I do wonder if a call to Seattle could take place for Riq Woolen, especially if Witherspoon gets back and is in the fold there. So keep an eye on this one. I think he would be an upgrade over Nahshon Wright. And then Nahshon Wright as your backup outside guy. I think you feel pretty good about that. Okay, we have got to tell you about a fantastic sponsor that's been with us for a while. That is PrizePicks, the best daily fantasy sports app. It's available in 45 states now. Most of the country you can play PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. 2-player lineups, 3-player lineups, up to 6-player lineups. You just pick more or less on the stat projections. Passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, field goals, sacks, points, rebounds, assists in basketball. Dozens of stats available, combo stats. And get this, you can have different players from different sports in one lineup. You could have a Bears player, a Bulls player, and a Blackhawks player all in one lineup. You can do that with PrizePicks right now. You just pick more or less on a stat projection available, and if you hit, you win money. It's fun, it's easy, it's cool. Good bragging point with your friends as well. I got a 2-player lineup this weekend. Derrick Henry, more than half a touchdown rushing or receiving. Doesn't matter. If he scores, I'll get that there. Goblin pick, so those are a little easier to hit, a little less payout there. But I kind of evened it out with a demon play from Rome Odunze to find the end zone. He's due. Hadn't scored the last 2 weeks. Got screwed in Washington. I think he finds the end zone on Sunday. $20 entry for this one to win $55. Check out PrizePicks today. Download the PrizePicks app. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Okay, Breece Hall, a guy we were talking about a lot, a couple of weeks ago before this run game resurgence for the Chicago Bears. Still having a really good season. His efficiency's dipped a little the last 2 weeks, but that team's just falling apart, and he's still at 4.5 yards per carry. Really good number. That O-line has not played as well since the early part of the season when they were playing pretty well in the run game, so that's been an issue as well, but he's always been a threat to catch the football too. I like Breece Hall a lot, and I've said this from a Jet standpoint. Them keeping him makes no sense. They're so far away. He's entering free agency this offseason. They should trade him unless the offers are just atrocious. I think they could probably get a 4 for him. As far as the Bears go, though, I've kind of shifted. 2 weeks ago, I would have said, hey, 4th-round pick, let's do it. Not saying it would be a bad trade, but I just think what you've been able to do the last couple of weeks, you don't need to force the issue this year. He might be a guy you might be able to sign in free agency if he doesn't get extended by New York or another team. So I would probably stick away. Now, 2 games before the deadline, if some run game woes return or if there's an injury, you could certainly revisit this. But right now, don't think you would pull the trigger on this move. Okay, Jalen Phillips, the Dolphins' edge. Seems like he's more attainable than Jermaine Johnson at this point. I was team Jermaine Johnson between these two. I'm not anti-Jalen Phillips, but he is in that 5th-year option, final year of his contract. So you would either treat this as a rental or someone you would probably want to extend right away. And that makes me a little bit nervous because you've already invested a lot of money in the defensive line. It would almost be a signal that you're moving Dio Adengbo or Montez Sweat this offseason, which, hey, like I'm not tied down to either of those guys. Certainly not Dio Adengbo with how he's played so far. But I just think this one's less likely. I think if the Bears are going to make a notable move, they want someone with contractual control. That's why I like the Jermaine Johnson one, because you'd have a year and a half of team control. This one, you got to make a quick decision. You'd have to extend him either on the fly or after the season, or you just treat it as a rental. And if he's a rental, the most I can do is a 5th. And even then, with where the Bears are at, I don't know if I'd want to do that. So we'll see if they show interest in Jalen Phillips. Like the player, he's got a good pressure rate this year, but not sure the timeline works for Chicago. All right, we'll get to some minor trade targets in a second, maybe the range that is most likely for the Bears at this point in time. But I'll tell you this, if the Bears make a trade, we'll have it covered. Especially on trade deadline day, we'll be live for the trade deadline. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Chances are we'll go live if they make a trade, unless it's at some weird hour. But at minimum, we'll have a video, so lock us in. Okay, some minor trade targets. We got 7 of these. We had 4 blockbusters. We had 4 significant trade targets. Now we take a look at some minor trade targets, which again I have defined as role players / projects. Tyree Wilson kind of fits both. I think he's good enough to be a role player right away. You could play him, but a bit of a project too, right? A first-round pick who I loved coming out of Texas Tech a couple years ago. He had a foot issue that I think lingered into his rookie year, and he's never quite showed that explosiveness. I thought he had a little more explosiveness in college. He's kind of a tweener. He's played some edge, some defensive tackle. He's been a little bit more effective as a D-tack, so I'm not sure how Dennis Allen would view him. He's long and powerful, so DA likes those guys on the edge, so I think he'd probably try him at edge first. I think he's an intriguing buy low target. Bill Barnwell had that option. Hey, you want to just trade Braxton Jones for Tyree Wilson? I'm very intrigued by that. Now, Braxton Jones has got this knee issue. I don't know how serious that is, so I don't know if something like that would be on the table or if it's just like a 6th-round pick. But if you want to buy low for a first-round player from a couple of years ago who has at least next year and potentially a 5th-year option, if you were to exercise it, available, Tyree Wilson could be an intriguing piece. Cam Taylor-Britt, who recently got benched by Cincinnati. They're trying to tinker their defense that's been off to a slow start. He has not played super well to start 2025, just a couple of breakups in 5 games and doesn't have an interception. But he had 7 picks the last 2 years and 27 breakups. I mean, this guy has made a lot of plays on the football the last couple of seasons for Cincinnati. And again, at corner, you feel okay with Tyrique and Nahshon Wright, but you don't have a lot of depth on the outside. And Nahshon Wright, while he's made some plays for you, a couple picks, has a fumble recovery, he's also getting beat some. And listen, that's totally fine. He's a backup, for his career. Maybe this, he continues to develop, and give Al Harris and this coaching staff a lot of credit. He's playing at least like a serviceable starter, but a guy like Cam Taylor-Britt, a lot of skins on the wall. At minimum, he's a good backup for you if you were to bring him in, and who knows, he could be insurance or even competition for Nahshon Wright if you wanted to go that route. Wouldn't give up a lot for him, but pick swap, late round pick would certainly be open to it. Jerome Ford, this would be pick swap only for me. Roschon's got this back thing now. I don't know how serious it is, but he's kind of a physical back who can get downhill. This year, he's got less than 100 yards because since Quinshon Judkins has come back, him and the fellow rookie Dylan Sampson have gotten the bulk of the carries. But the last 2 seasons, pretty productive, right? As a rotation back, over 4 yards per carry, almost 1,400 yards. So he's over 650 per season the last 2 seasons, really like 680. 7 touchdowns. He catches the ball pretty well too, 544 and 5 receiving touchdowns. Honestly, Roschon coming out of college, was kind of a Jerome Ford type, a guy who could catch the ball, could do a little bit of everything, even though not great at anything. And, for whatever reason, Roschon hasn't fully developed. I think the head injuries have been part of that, certainly. But, if this Roschon deal is serious, and I don't know that it is or isn't, the back injury, a guy like Jerome Ford could step in, be that third back, be a bruiser, help on special teams, and, catch some screens and checkdowns as well. Arnold Ebiketie is next up here. He was mentioned by ESPN as a potential trade candidate. He's kind of fallen out of favor there, mostly because James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker, the two rookies, have just been good. Those two draft picks have panned out for Atlanta, and they've found success with those two guys. So Ebiketie just hasn't played a ton, but he's bounced around. He's been in this league for a bit. Again, you're probably talking about a pick swap or a late-round pick, but if you want to add a piece to the rotation, he could be someone you could do that with. Arden Key, same deal. I think he's got 1.5 sacks this year. He's bounced around. He's played with the Niners, the Jags, and he was with the Raiders for a little while. He's played in a lot of different systems and for a lot of different teams, so he's pretty scheme versatile, I would say. But he's not going to come in and start. He would come in and be like a fourth edge rusher type, so you could look at someone like that. Same deal with Matt Judon. We know the Bears last offseason were very interested, offered a third-round pick. Atlanta did as well. He ends up going to Atlanta, signed with the Dolphins this year, hasn't done much. He's probably near the end of his career. You're talking like pick swap, maybe like 2 drafts from now. You wouldn't give up anything notable at all, but veteran who can rush the passer a little bit, you could certainly bring him in. And then Deonte Banks, who I think this would be a backup behind Nahshon Wright and Tyrique Stevenson. He's been pretty bad. I don't really like his attitude from what I've seen, but kind of in the Tyree Wilson mold, but a little bit less. Former first-round pick. There's some talent in there somewhere. Could you bring him in to kind of develop him on the side and, if nothing else, at least be a backup option? Is he better than Jalen Jones? You would think so, but another name to at least mention here. All right, name a player the Bears should trade for. We went through some blockbuster options, some, starting caliber options, and obviously some smaller, minor type of options, role players, project types there at the end. I think the Bears are probably working more so in that mold, maybe into that second tier that we talked about if the right player is available for the right price. But the blockbuster move seems pretty unlikely at this point in time, but the sport is fluid. Things change. Let us know if there's a player you want the Bears to trade for. My name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much. If you made it to the end of the video, that makes you a real one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Support us, and we'll see you guys soon. Bear down. All right, Michael, what do you think Chauncey Billups' Mafia nickname was? Dude, that situation is crazy.
The Big Shot.
2 days into 2 days into the season, man. It felt like some early momentum for the NBA too. The NBA and NBC games felt big. I mean, you were at that Thunder game. That was obviously a spectacle, double OT. And then this hammer drops, just not ideal for the league. I mean, It's just a killer for the early season momentum. So, it's going to be fascinating to see what kind of transpires out of that situation. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, just listen, a lot of, memes and everything have come out of this. And to be honest, too, it's just the thing that I think you could agree also, Harry, is that these are just the only people that were dumb enough to get caught doing this. I don't think these are the only ones that are guilty of doing this.
Of course not. Now, maybe these are all the guys within this specific case, but
right.
I mean, we've seen guys gamble before. I mean, Jonte Porter,
Calvin Ridley.
Guys in the NFL have done it. So
yep.
I guarantee you this: sports commissioners in other sports, they are calling emergency meetings today. Like, hey, is there anything have we dotted our I's, crossed our T's? Are we communicating this clearly to our players and coaches in this league? Like, you cannot be doing this stuff. So, I mean, you wonder if more's coming in the future. Right. You would think that this isn't the end of it. So, it's an interesting story for sure. We'll see where it ends up going. But not great. That's for sure. United asking if Austin Booker's going to finally play. Ben Johnson said earlier in the week, quote, I think he's going to be able to help us. So I think they're going to activate him now. Technically, they don't have to do so till next Tuesday. That's the end of the 21-day window. So they could go another game without doing it. But remember, once they activate him, they got to cut somebody or play someone on IR. Is Braxton Jones an IR candidate? I don't know. Is Roschon Johnson? I don't know. But, I think they're going to activate him. I don't think they want him on IR for the whole season. So we'll see what happens.
I would agree. Greg Schmitz with the super chat. We'll get him up on screen here in a second. Says, need defensive end the most.
Yeah, well, I think it's your biggest need, short and long term, really. I mean, I don't think Montez Sweat or Dio Adengbo are like long term pieces. I like the way Sweat is trending. I think this is probably his best 2-game stretch in a while. Mm-hmm. Probably better than any 2-game stretch last season. So hopefully that continues. Dio, I mean, he's playing the run fine, but he's clearly not up to this point living up to his contract. We'll see what Austin Booker can do. I will say this, Colin. Dom Rob's been a pleasant surprise. For a guy I thought he was a for sure cut. New coaching staff, hadn't really done anything in his first 3 years in the league. Not only does he make the team, like he's actually flashed some. So that's been a positive development. I don't think he's all of a sudden some like high-end rotation player, but like for what the expectations were, I mean, he's been giving you a little bit of juice, so that's been good. But yeah, I mean, you need a high-end pass rusher moving forward. Whether that's someone you draft and develop next year, whether that's a free agent or a trade now or in the offseason, they got to find that dude. I don't think they have that dude yet. I think they have a lot of decent players on this defensive line, but Montez Sweat is paid to be that dude. He's a good player. He's not elite. And I don't think he's going to be elite at least, like week in and week out. So
no. I think, obviously, we'll have to wait to see how the rest of the season pans out and how everyone looks, given the opportunities that they'll be given. To me, like, if you're the Bears, the number one priority is going to be one of two things. Either A, somebody to get after the quarterback, or B, someone protecting Caleb's blind side.
Yeah, left tackle.
So, yeah, I think running back, again, like, it's been 2 weeks. We'll see. I just think you could probably find value in that for potentially day 2 or day 3. And again, maybe for agency as well.
And look, if this continues, like, maybe this is the pairing you roll with at least for another year. Like, if Swift is more like the player we've seen the last 2 weeks compared to the first 2, I mean, let me pull up his cap hit situation for next year. We know they can cut him and save most of it, but, like, his cap hit next year is $8.3 million. The last 2 weeks, he's been worth that and probably more. So, like, I don't think all of a sudden you would extend him or anything, but, like, he and Monungai, if this pairing continues to, like, produce, like, you may not have to force the issue there next year. Now, if there's a player you really like on day 2 or something like that, of course, but if this continues, I'd be shocked if they went a running back round 1. I mean, I don't think you would do that, considering you need pass rush help. You could need a left tackle, depending on, what they view Ozzie Trapillo and Theo Benedict long-term as. So we'll see. I mean, you're still, in a weird way, you're about a third of the way through the season. Week 8 feels halfway through, but the Bears have only played 6 games. So we'll see how the next 9-10 weeks go. But, yeah, we'll see if they do something before the deadline, and we'll see kind of what their offseason outlook is. Because, today, if you told me if I had to order biggest needs, I'd say, 1A, 1B, just pass rusher, whether it's tackle or edge, probably more so edge, and then left tackle. And then I would say after that, kind of TBD. I mean, Brisker and Byard are both playing well. Can you get them both back on reasonable contracts? I would say at this point you'd want to bring at least one of those guys back with how they've played this year.
At least one.
And maybe that becomes Byard on a 1-year deal and Brisker prices his way out of here as a young player. I don't know. I think ideally you're bringing one of those guys back, if not both. Linebacker, I think at this point, Edmonds has earned to stay with how he's played this year. Who knows? Maybe you even extend him for to kind of lower the cap in next year. That could be an option. So, that's been the nice part about what we've seen so far this year. Safety and linebacker felt like under the radar needs going into next year, but with how certain guys have played, you might have those answers in the building. So that's been a nice development. All right. Speaking of the defense, speaking of Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Kevin Byard, we'll talk about those guys coming up. Dennis Allen, he's got this defense on a heater right now. We'll talk about it next here on Chicago Bears Now. What a revelation that Dennis Allen has been for this Bears defense. A great hire by Ben Johnson so far that has really paid off. This defense is on a major heater, and I'm going to break it down here on today's show. My name is Harrison Graham. Before we do that, our next milestone is 136,000 subscribers. We've gotten so much support from you guys, whether you're a longtime sub, a new sub, or someone who watches this show but hasn't subscribed yet, or maybe this is your first time ever watching. We bring you guys free and daily Bears content. We're less than 350 subs away. Can you help us get there? Can we get to 136,000 subs? Let's make it happen. It's free. Bear down. All right, let's talk about this defense as it's been a revelation, especially the past month, these past 4 games coming out of that, pretty embarrassing display against Detroit in week 2. The vibes were low. This team was 0-2. The defense had key injuries, getting pushed around, gave up 52 points. Since then, it's been excellent. 15 takeaways in the last 4 games. 16 on the season, leads the NFL, and the Bears have had a bye week. Most teams have not, so that's pretty impressive. And I also am going to outline several players who have stepped up, whether it's been starters taking the next step, backups playing well. It's been really, really nice to see, and I think Dennis Allen deserves a lot of credit with how exotic he's been, especially on the back end with his coverages. But speaking of the secondary, I mean, the takeaways in terms of interceptions, this team already has 11 interceptions. And all 11 of those, or 10 of those 11 have come in the last 4 weeks. And the interception rate is really freaking impressive. They have picked off 11 passes this year on 167 pass attempts. That's 6.6% of the time. In other words, quick math here, about every 19 pass attempts by the opposing team, you're picking off a pass. I think that's more than 2% better than any other team. I think I saw the next closest team is in the high 3s or low 4s. That's really freaking impressive. It leads the NFL easily right now. And by the way, it's without an elite pass rush or even a good pass rush. Now, Dennis Allen has found some solutions the past couple weeks in particular by bringing different blitzes and, pushing the pocket a little bit. But let's be honest, this has not been a defense up front that's been super good, especially at getting after the quarterback so far this year. And you're still getting a ton of interceptions. And to me, not a lot of fluky ones. Like Kevin Byard reading his keys, jumping routes. That play he made off Spencer Rattler where Rattler threw that deep ball to Shaheed. He's got to cover a lot of ground there, make a sliding pick, understanding where the out-of-bounds marker is. He would have had a second pick on Sunday. It would have been his 5th of the year if there wasn't friendly fire from Roschon Wright. He's got a couple picks as well. Had another one Sunday. Tremaine Edmonds has 3. Now, a couple of those I think have been tipped up, but that's still making a play on the ball for whoever is tipping those initially. Tyrique Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker. The one Brisker had against Washington, I thought really set the tone for that game. I mean, that was a huge play for him. And Stevenson, don't forget, if this team goes on a run this year and is even just playing meaningful ball down the stretch, that rip away against Dallas, you're 0-2. Dallas is going straight down the field. Looks like the defense is going to have another long day against Dak Prescott and the boys, who that offense has been awesome. He rips that ball away from Javonte Williams. It changed the whole season for himself, for this team, for this defense. Since that moment, this defense has been fantastic. And a big reason for the turnaround, Tyrique deserves a lot of credit for that, but it's been Kevin Byard's resurgence. Ryan Poles signed him to a 2-year, $15 million deal last year to replace Eddie Jackson. Thought it was a reasonable deal. It's kind of a 1+1. They didn't have to keep him this year. They could have cut him without much dead cap penalty, but he was solid last year. I think for what he's making this year, he was worth keeping. Excellent leader, but there were signs of, late last year and even the first 2 weeks this year, like he's not what he was. He's still a starting caliber player, but he's not what he was. The last 4 weeks, he's been an all-pro. He's been unbelievable. He's got 4 picks. He's filling the lane in the run game. He's been awesome. He's been absolutely freaking awesome for this defense, and we know he's a big-time leader. He's a captain on this team. I just can't overstate what this guy has done the last month. He looks back to his peak Titans days, and he talked about it recently. Like, I'm looking to set a personal record. He had 8 picks one year in Tennessee. I'm trying to top that. He's got 4 through 6 games. Should be 5. Again, if there wasn't the friendly fire from Roschon Wright, who got caught in the air and popped him last week. So he's played unbelievably well. He's leading this group. at this point, like I want to bring him back next year, assuming this level of play continues. So that's been really, really nice and exciting to see. Number 2, and I don't think this is being discussed enough, flipping the linebacker positions. And what I mean by that is in the Matt Eberflus defense, they signed Tremaine Edmonds to play middle linebacker, TJ Edwards to play at will linebacker. TJ played really well at will, so that worked out, especially for his contract. He's making $6 million a year, got a 2-year for 20 this offseason on an extension. He's more than lived up to that. But what have we talked about with Tremaine Edmonds through his first 2 years on a 4-year, $72 million contract? He's not living up to close to that contract. This year he is. He's playing up to his $18 million per year contract. And he's been playing that will spot because when TJ was out, Noah Sewell's more comfortable at middle. And we'll talk about something Ben Johnson, Dennis Allen, and the staff did during training camp, which has really paid dividends now. Edmonds plays the will with Noah at middle linebacker. Noah played well at middle, by the way, as well. And Edmonds is having easily his best season as a Bear, maybe the best season of his career up to this point. His last year in Buffalo, he was really good as well. But 3 interceptions, 4 breakups. I think he's top 10 in tackles, and that's with, again, the Bears having a bye week already. He's got a couple TFLs. He's playing better against the run, which has been hit and miss in his Bears career as well. This has been a hell of a turnaround. He's gone from kind of an obvious cut candidate in 2026 to could he get extended? If he keeps playing like this, it's kind of crazy to say. This is his, I think, 7th or 8th year in the NFL. He's still only 27 years old. He was 19 when he declared for the draft. He was a young college football player. I think he played as a 17-year-old freshman. But this has been quite the turnaround. Now, we're 6 games in. Things could change. But at minimum, if he plays to this level or close to it, I think you would keep him under that $18 million next year. But you might even want to extend him to lower that cap hit for 2026 and, give you some more flexibility in terms of free agency and whatnot. I don't think you can say enough to how this guy has played. TJ Edwards has been back 2 weeks playing at the Mike linebacker spot. He's been balling as well. I know PFF's been wonky this year, but I think he's been the highest graded linebacker the last 2 weeks per PFF. He looks comfortable in that spot. And Ben Johnson talked about this the other day, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something they did with both TJ and Tremaine in training camp was he got them a lot of reps at both spots, both middle and will, for exactly this situation. If an injury pops up, or if, hey, maybe we learned something that in this scheme, Tremaine is actually better at the will and TJ's actually better at the mic. And lo and behold, that has paid off because Noah Sewell is not as versatile as these two guys. He's not as high of a level of a player. So with TJ goes out, Sewell is more of a little middle linebacker. They put him there. Tremaine at the will where he excelled. And I remember saying this at the time when TJ got healthy. I was like, I think I'd keep Tremaine at the will and put TJ at middle and see how that goes. And it's been great. Again, 2 games together with those two at those positions, but Tremaine's been at will all year. And outside of the Raiders game, I thought he's played really, really well. So I think something too, and I'm not trying to drag the last staff. We've done plenty of that. It just goes to show, though, this staff is just so much smarter than the last one. It's like, yeah, you've got 6 weeks of training camp. Why not mix and match with these guys? See how they look at different positions at linebacker. Like, you need to be able to move guys around in a pinch. Injuries pop up. Things happen. And they've kind of realized, hey, like this combination with TJ at middle and Tremaine on the weak side, they're actually more comfortable there. So kudos to the staff. Kudos to Dennis Allen and Ben Johnson with that flexibility. And kudos to both these linebackers playing really, really well. Now, we also talked about Kevin Byard as potential extension candidate. TJ already got extended, but Kevin Byard, Tremaine Edmonds. Who would you rather extend if you were the Bears? Now, Edmonds has 1 more year under his deal, so you don't have to extend him right now. But type KB for Kevin Byard, TE for Tremaine Edmonds. I would probably lean Byard because he is a free agent after this year, and you've got that flexibility with Edmonds. But you could argue both guys have earned it, which has been a really, really nice development for this team. All right, we have more to discuss when it comes to the defense here and the nice developments in coaching by Dennis Allen. But I want to tell you guys first about our sponsor, Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. hit a nice 3-player lineup last Sunday, back on the saddle this week with several lineups as well. Starting to work in some basketball lineups too. I'll start sharing those with you guys. But one feature I want to tell you guys about with PrizePicks is you can follow other PrizePicks player directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. The way PrizePicks works is simple. You just pick more or less on player stat projections on 2 to 6 player lineups, and you are good to go. Got a little 2-player lineup I already feel good about. Again, I will have several more this week as well, but took more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown for Derrick Henry. It's a goblin play, less payout there, but feel confident in that one. I've paired that with a demon play to kind of even things out on the potential payout if it hits. Half a rushing or receiving touchdown as well. Rome's due. I think he finds the end zone. Plus, Ravens coming off a bye week. Lamar's banged up. I like Derrick Henry to find the end zone as well. $20 entry to win $55 on this lineup. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Okay, let's continue with how well this Bears defense has played. The Tyrique Stevenson breakout is here. Now, we're filming this live on Thursday. He has not practiced this week. Fingers crossed it's not a serious shoulder injury, and maybe by the time you're watching this, he's already been ruled either in or out for this week. Doesn't sound like a long-term injury either way, so we'll see. But what he's provided since that Detroit game where, let's face it, he got picked on. He did not look good at all. But that was also the game Jalen Johnson got injured and had surgery and is out at least until December, maybe for the season. I think Tyrique Stevenson looked at this situation and said, it's my time to step up. Not just to play better, but to be the number one outside corner for this team. And he's absolutely done that. These stats include the Detroit game where I think he gave up 6 completions on 8 targets. He's only given up 10 total completions on 24 targets this year. Opposing quarterback rating 67.2. It was a perfect passer rating against the first 2 weeks, so that goes to show how much that's improved. He's given up just 1 touchdown this season. He has an interception. He has 6 pass breakups. For the past month, relatively small sample size, he's played like a CB1. Now, he's been an all-pro. I'm not ready to say that, but he's played like a guy that if he continues to do this, you would want to extend him. I mean, he's a third-year player. This is, it's not make or break. That would be next year, final year of his rookie deal. But if he plays well enough, maybe you extend him this offseason, get ahead of that, kind of big money contract that could be coming and try to limit how much you have to pay him. And he's risen to the challenge without Jalen Johnson. There's no question about it. So kudos to 2-9. Hopefully he's healthy here and continue to play well. And then you got to shout out some backups too, man. Every team goes through injuries. It's part of the sport. But I do just want to outline some guys who have risen to the challenge, stepped up to the plate here. We talked about Noah Sewell a little bit, especially in the run game. The run game was struggling earlier in the year, but one guy who was making some nice plays in the backfield was Noah Sewell. Now, he's got some limitations. He's not great in coverage, but again, he's your third linebacker. But for him to step up, play that Mike spot for the first month, and hold it down at least at a decent level, kudos to him. Nashawn Wright, we've talked about, it's been up and down, but he's a backup. And he has 2 interceptions, had a pick 6 in week 1, key interception off Spencer Rattler last week. He recovered the fumble off Jaden Daniels, which set up the Bears' game-winning field goal in that Washington game. He's made some splash plays when it's mattered. He's given up plays, but he's making plays too. Dominic Robinson, I thought he was an easy cut coming into this year. I was like, new scheme, he's done nothing. They're not going to keep him. Not only did he make the team, he's got 1.5 sacks. He's been in the backfield some. He's got some TFLs. Like, he's actually flashed. Like, who knows? Maybe he's back next year on a cheap deal to continue to be a part of this rotation. So kudos to him. And again, that's development. Through 3 years under the prior coaching staff, he did not improve at all. This year, he has clearly improved. I don't know how good he can get, but he's not a scrub. And through 3 years, he was a scrub. So, there's other guys I could point out. Nick McLeod battled when he was in there at nickel. Like, guys are just stepping up. This has not been a team that's been healthy. I mean, look at the injuries. Jalen Johnson has missed 5.5 of 6 games, and he's going to continue to miss games. You hope he gets back in December, and if he does come back, that means you're in the mix, so that would be a great thing. Kyler Gordon missed 4 games. TJ Edwards missed 3.5 games. Grady Jarrett's missed 3 games. Terrell Smith, who might be playing if he was healthy instead of Nashawn Wright, he's out for the season. Got hurt during the preseason. So you've had 4 starters there miss a combined 9.5 plus 3.5. That's 13 games. Jarrett, 16 games. Terrell Smith, your top outside backup corner, has not played at all. And yet, outside of the Detroit game, this defense is playing well. The next man up mentality, it's a cliche, but it's been real for this team. And to me, a lot of that is coaching. It's development. It's, not giving an inch, not kind of saying like, well, we have backups. It is what it is. It's like, no, man, this is a physical sport. Guys miss time. Who's going to step up and make a play? Teams who have good depth are often playing late in the season because you're going to lose guys. You hope not great players, and you hope not for the season, but you're not going to be fully healthy all year, and the Bears have had a lot of attrition already, and guys are stepping up making plays. I compiled some data outside of the Detroit game. Obviously, that game matters, but in the other 5 games, this is where the Bears would rank in the following categories. Points per game allowed, 20.6, 11th in the NFL. Yards per game allowed, 317.8, 15th. Passing yards allowed, 8th at 188, and again, that's without a pass rush. Rushing yards per game allowed, 129.8, 24th. You have to remember that Raiders game was a disaster. Ashton Genty went off. I bet if you took that game out, it'd be more like middle of the pack. Last 2 weeks, they've been best in the NFL or close to it. Takeaways, 15 outside of that Detroit game. Actually, it might be 16. 15 or 16. Doesn't matter. It leads the NFL regardless. I think it's 16. That's a typo on my part because you didn't have one in that Detroit game. You did have one week 1 against Minnesota, and you got 15 the last 2 weeks. Regardless, to do what they're doing without a pass rush, I mean, Dennis Allen, even there, has found ways to manufacture pressure the last couple of weeks, but when they're bringing 4, they're not getting much pressure. So to get these many takeaways, especially the interceptions, guys, it is hard to cover in this league without a pass rush, and you don't have your number 1 corner. Like, it is the takeaways are going to dip. You're not going to get 4 a week. It is an unreasonable kind of level of volume that they're getting. You should not expect that to continue. But the fact that they're doing it right now is unbelievably impressive, considering the guys that have been out and considering the lack of a pass rush that they have. So Dennis Allen, Ben Johnson hiring him, the stuff they were doing in training camp to mix and match and be ready for different scenarios. This team's well coached, man. They're really, really well coached, and the players have responded and stepped up to the challenge. Grade the job that Dennis Allen is doing. Type A, B, C, D, or F. I don't see how it could be anything less than an A. Yeah, it was bad showing in Detroit. Well, Jalen Johnson went out in that game. They got elite players. That was a tough spot. I'm giving Dennis Allen an A, considering what he's working with and how productive this defense has been so far. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. Appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. One more little nugget, third and third down defense, 30% giving up. Pretty good. This defense playing good ball right now. Hopefully it continues in Baltimore. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Twinquist, my guy. I took Bears +6, hoping Lamar would be ruled out. Looks like he's going to play. Unfortunately, +6 still good. I still think it's pretty good value. I mean, that's a high number. Again, would it shock me if Lamar played and you lost by like 10? Like, no, I don't think it's some gimme bet or anything. No bets are, but I thought it was a high number to begin with, 6.5. So, my guess was it would be like 4.5, assuming Lamar would be back, and it opened at 6.5. I guess maybe in some bookies it's down to 6. I still think it's a decent bet, Twinquist, because even if Lamar plays, I think it's pretty clear he's not going to be 100%. So if he's not able to run around as effectively, I think that makes a big difference. So, yeah, I still think you can feel pretty good about that value. I even don't hate a money line play with how well the Bears are playing right now. Wouldn't put a huge number on it, but I'd put a unit on it. I think there's value there. So we'll see. We'll see if they can be 5 straight, Colin. That'd be fun.
Be a big test this Sunday. Expecting Lamar to go. Just keep getting better, as Ben Johnson says, right?
Yeah, and I do want to say this too, not that I'm like trying to like emotionally hedge. You don't have to win this game. Like, to me, you need to split these two with Baltimore and Cincinnati. So if you lose this game, win next week, come home, play the Giants, chance to get to 6-3. I mean, after an 0-2 start, that's pretty good. So one game at a time, one day at a time. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, you're playing to win this game. I promise you the players are, and in that building, they're very confident right now. Why wouldn't they be? They lost 10 in a row last year, and at one point, and now they've won 4 in a row. Winning will change your confidence very, very quickly. So
100%.
See how it goes. Remember, I will probably rip an episode tomorrow once the injury stuff comes out because we all want to know what Lamar's status is. I want to break that down and bring that to you guys. So I will likely do an episode from home for that. If I am free tomorrow, I think I'll be able to do that. So be sure to subscribe, turn on the notifications. We'll have you guys covered. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Give me the Chargers over the Vikings, which would also help the Bears a little bit. So Chargers win tonight. That's my prediction. For Vert's post-game reaction, if you want to check that out as well. So we will see you guys over there. Until tomorrow on Bears Now, bear down.